Security, security, security. We love security. Dibuda security. VPN. What? You're a fool. Oh god, that was bad. Always trying to keep those intros interesting and dumb. So there are a lot of myths permeating the cybersecurity industry, just like any other industry, and I thought I would take a few moments, a few time to maybe just debunk a few of these myths. I don't know. Cybersecurity influencers. Oh boy.
I'm taking over a TV network.
They're hackers.
Although aspirational, cybersecurity is not that. Once you step into this industry, what you'll recognize is that security is quite vast, and it's a lot more than just hacking. Although penetration testing or hacking is a very important component of security in the business context, it represents a very small sliver in the needs of the business. Cybersecurity is quite vast. In fact, I've talked about this many times, and you can learn a lot, do a lot in this industry. And obviously, some of it relates really just close to IT. It's an IT profession. So perhaps you are a software developer, but maybe sprinkled on top with a bit of security. Or you're just a general engineer, and again, maybe there's some security components. A lot of security and IT mix because, well, they're the same, basically. So it's not just security all day. A lot of corporate security really has to do with working with teams, communicating, evangelizing, working with leadership. It's the workplace skills, so that's very important. So unfortunately, Hollywood has fooled us, or maybe not fooled any of us, with the I'm in meme, but really, it's a vast field, and security is not just hacking.
Stop! Before this video begins, let me tell you about a great sponsor.
So dragging off the intro example, there's a lot of consumer-grade VPNs out there. I might as well just, go out and create that debunk VPN. Almost all VPN marketing and sales funnels are about like being secure online. Subscribe to a VPN, you'll be secure. Well, most times you don't even need a VPN. The rise and advancement of HTTPS tagging off HTTP and anonymous DNS services such as Quad9, you really don't need a VPN anymore to be secure. I mean, the end-to-end encryption is happening in the HTTPS layer, and you can use a DNS resolver such as Quad9's for at least a general base of anonymization in your DNS queries. The only real use case I see in VPNs today is geolocation control. So if you are on a website or you're using a service and there's geolocation restrictions, or maybe you want to log in somewhere else, yeah, maybe a VPN could be a good use there. Really, all you're doing with VPNs is delegating access from your traditional ISP to your VPN provider. And whether or not you stay private or anonymous really relies on that VPN provider. And even if there's this guaranteed no logs, you don't have visibility. It's opaque. So you have to think about that. I wouldn't even really recommend the security component of VPNs anymore. It's just not really relevant. It's really a thing of the past, mostly. So don't really fall for that marketing if you're just an everyday user, browsing social media, and me.
In Windows, I click once and things just work. Yeah, until you get a virus again. I've got antivirus. What do you have? The source code.
macOS and Linux devices do not get computer viruses, while historically less common Linux and macOS devices do get targeted. In fact, they're on the rise, especially with the rise of macOS use in the consumer workstation for everyday users, and Linux powering developer environments as well as backend servers. They're actually on the rise. For large malware variants, I mean, you're thinking your commodity malware, there's actually OS and architecture support. These have become available through time. So yes, Windows environment is the most targeted, but macOS and Linux have their respective 0 days, as well as their many vulnerabilities that get disclosed and exploited. So yeah, that's not really true. And there is viruses out there.
Firm CrowdStrike says it identified a critical problem in its software and is working to fix the issue.
Installing EDR AV equals secure. Now, while this is a very good security control, consumer AV and business EDR and all of the detection response variants, no, they don't protect you from all threats. Now, these do a great job of filtering out the noise, defending it against common attacks and commodity malware, but it's not going to get everything. Attack techniques have evolved over time. Traditional signature-based systems do well with commodity malware, like I said, but AV, it can't stop everything. Targeted phishing emails, your fileless malware, supply chain attacks, default settings, outdated software, the list goes on. I mean, these are just a few relevant points to bring up. Common attack techniques that are deployed today, and you're seeing a bypass of AV and even your advanced business EDRs to this day. So that's something important to recognize. Have antivirus as your first line of defense or ADR in a business context, but also deploy various common security practices such as updating to the most recent versions, using multi-factor authentication, password managers, changing default settings when relevant. That's important. An additional sub-myth of this is that installing any security tool will fix your problem. Throwing money and resources at a cybersecurity or security-based tool, while maybe be effective in some cases, it's not always going to be effective in getting rid of your problem. In fact, it can actually lead to more problems. You have shadow IT, the complexity, the compatibility issues. There's a lot of things. So yeah, I don't know if I would recommend. It's not really, I don't know what I'm trying to say. It's a myth.
Enable two-factor authentication wherever possible. This adds an extra layer of security by requiring a second form of verification, such as a text message code or authentication app.
MFA equals protection or lots of protection. While true, it depends on the type of MFA. The most common MFA type in today's age is still SMS MFA, and it's weak. I mean, attackers have been able to SIM swap for now, like you're going on decades here. Attackers can deploy the SIM swapping technique, which basically allows them to control or transfer your number onto a device they control. And from there, they can get your one-time codes. Now, there are other types of MFA deployed out there, such as one-time codes being sent to your email, or even just like the security questions for password reset. If your email gets pwned, you're giving away the keys to your kingdom most often because they can reset any password on the device, as well as security questions. Oftentimes, they are generic. They can be found through public records or even mined or farmed. So yeah, it really depends on the type of MFA. It's quite baffling that like banks still to this day are using MFA as their default. And speaking of default, if you have, say, several options available to you on your MFA, you can always roll back to the most insecure version, so like a downgrade attack. So like, for example, you may have a little FIDO2 key here, but if you're still using SMS based or have that enabled, then they can roll that back. So yeah, it's a myth if you're just thinking MFA equals protection. All right, now the bonus round, honorary mentions of myths. So cybersecurity is a high paying field. While true to very much so to some extent, it all depends on the type of job you have, where you're located, and what you think high paying is. It is certainly a good paying field, but it just depends on a lot of factors, like anything in life. Compliant is secure. Security and compliance frameworks do provide a great baseline for security controls and measures. However, if you get too focused on these, just with the whole so-called checking the box, you become blinded to the wider landscape that's occurring. And yeah, it's not necessarily true that you're going to be secure in all cases. Finally, hackers are outsiders. Insider threats are still very much so a huge risk. You have disgruntled employees, maybe malicious insiders. You can even think of a recent attack where North Korean are attempting to get into remote companies so that they can deploy out various malware variants, steal their salary, and so the insider threat is certainly still very relevant, and hackers aren't always going to be those outsiders. The debunk VPN, maybe that is certainly a myth in this industry, but really what other myths have I missed in this video? Feel free to leave a comment in the comment section below, and you know what it is. Until the next time, have a good day.